Hello and welcome to Geek at Play Studio Tutorials. And let's look more on the fractal terrains. So we'll go ahead. We also call them procedural. So either way is correct. Um, we'll go to Edit Object. Okay, so right here in Terrain Editor, you'll notice we have at the top for the procedures where we have access to our function editor. So let's go ahead and look on the function editor for this terrain. Okay, let me resize so we can see this in all our window. Okay, there you go. Also, if it's a little bit flowing away, you can always to frame all of your nodes so you can easy access. The one thing you will notice right here, what we have it is the node they call seed. This is a similar what we have it before. If you remember, in a standard terrain, we can access seed number. This is a random number that will generate a unique for each terrain when you're creating. By copying this number will help you to replicate this. Also, this is not random number. And I know before in a previous version of the Vue, people ask and kind of was looking for the random number in a latest version was add, and if you just look for the random number, create the constant node, and inside constant node now you have the random constant node. So the seed and random constant node, this is two different nodes. You cannot create seed node, however you can reuse that, it's already exists. Random constant, just till we open here, it's very simple. You can set minimum maximum yours, and it will produce number 0 0.1, 0 0.2, and all with dot between these two ranges. You also can map it this. We will use this in some other projects. So I'll just want to show you um, also the new addition of random number in the Vue as well. This is not exactly the same as a seed. Okay, in a seed, if you notice, instead of the random number, you have it offset on all three axes, x, y, and z. In random number will produce for you those offsets only in a one range. However, you can create it three of them, combine as a vector, and use this way if you want it. Okay, so let's look right now. The seed is creating random number, which will affect our okay, it's again just slightly increasing right here, so which will affect our um, fractal node. And currently when you're creating, it's using simple fractal. Okay, and Vue 8 was introduced additional type of fractal, what is called terrain fractal. In terrain fractal, we have more options here, and we'll look on them in a next. So I want actually going through all these fractals and see what options we have in each of them and how that will affect as well most of those. If you're interested, we can look on our function editor tutorials, and we also look on those functions inside, except we skip terrain fractal because at that time it was introduced only in Vue 8. So open ocean, it's a similar to everyone other fractals, except you have a normal time node. So what is meaning your fractal will affect not shape not just by all options you're setting, also it will change in a time. Okay, and we have it wavelength, origin, larger feature, small, and we'll look on those ones a little bit later. Right now till we look inside the ocean fractal, and again we don't work with water right now. This is just fast overview on this um, type. You have the wave length. It's mean you have a direction for the wind, which is create sharpness on the water. It's a direction for those small waves, direction of the wind where you want it from degrees, from 0 to 360. Okay, intensity, how um, contrast, how higher they can be or more, and also waves, it is sharpness, it's how sharp is it, gain, how powerful they will be. Okay, so let's go ahead right now, look start with our simple fractal. This is when you create terrain, fractal terrain. This is assigned by the default. Okay, so we look already on a seed. Okay, in a simple fractal, okay, one thing what I want to do, I want kind of shrink, but problem right here, when we start shrinking, we kind of start running out of the space in our line. So let me shrink this one. We'll reduce here and just a little bit readjusting. Okay, the reason is why, because I want to show you as well on a side terrain editor. The one nice thing is when you start working, you notice that your terrain editor will update almost instantly, and this is achieved by nice addition of the or multitasking that is Vue now perform much better. Just example, if you increase large features, you can see how the instantly the screen is updated. So in that case, you can kind of monitor back and forth what's happening with your modifying. Of course, anytime you can open the preview, and this will give you a little bit more flat view of the terrain, which is not exactly what you have it, because you have right here 0 edges. Okay, if we uncheck, you can kind of compare them, and that will be similar right here. So if you work on infinity terrain, the observer will give you quite a bit accurate preview what will happen. Or when you work with the not 0 edges with infinity, so you can preview on both of them. They look very same. Okay, but if you work on a 0 edges, it's what most time when we do it, you'll notice because the evaluation will go to the 0 on the edges, it's look just a little bit different from your observer. So again, depend what purpose you want it. Right now we'll work with 0 edges, so I will turn off observer and we'll just monitor inside our terrain editor how it will look. Okay, so let's look right here. We have it noise. Noise, it's what generating all those peaks and kind of pits and other stuff. And you can select it based on different type of parent. By default, it's going to Pearl and Garden. But if you want it, you can select anything inside include crystallize, which is give you a little bit more unnatural look because it will have a little bit geometric shape to this. But if you create maybe in covering with a crystal floor, this is actually very nice to use, and you can just reduce amount of the shape, and you can see you can simulate kind of like semi-crystallizing. Again, it's depend what you intend to do. Okay, all those options, most of them have say the geometrical, except if you're going to Perlin and you can use Value Garden, any of those options will work very good for the creating natural look. It's the more random. So let's go right here. We'll move it in a second. Next option. Okay, so what has happened between each harmonical wave link? It will rotate slightly. So on that case, when you apply a little bit um, more geometrical shapes, it's actually will rotate them. It's look a little bit more natural in this case. So let's see if we can preview very well right now. So we have it right here, and you can notice how it's about one harmonic, for example, one lanes was going one way before apply other one, slightly rotate them. When it's apply another set, okay, let's go back. Like for example, you notice right here, we have it one lanes go horizontal, well, X, other one's going Y, we have it some other blob. So they're all horizontal. When we apply with rotation, what's happening? One pass harmonic, one lanes will go one direction. Next one, apply another one, they will rotate slightly. Another one will rotate more. So And this way it will when you start creating random, it will add a little bit more natural look or different type of the image if you want it. But again, this with rotation, you can apply same things almost on any type of the noise that you want created. So we go to garden. Okay, we'll preview right here one with rotation. It will apply it, but it won't be that visible because it's already quite a bit random. But again, if you want just extra natural look, you can use it rotation option. Okay, so the wavelengths, if it's a scale, but it's a scale along the axis. So example, if you want to overall increase scale, you can go to meta scale, and we'll look in a second on this or other ones. The wavelength allowed you to scale along X, Y, or Z axis accordingly. Okay, the origin point, it's a point where from noise start generating that will apply it. As well, we can use it origin point if we're using with a turbulence node together. This will add effect of the shifting noise around our terrain. So let's look very fast. So we'll go ahead, creating, oops, actually I don't want to replace. Let's create back right here, connecting. Our node. Okay, so we have it. We don't need a filter at this point. We'll just click on side. We'll add turbulence. There we go. Select origin. Okay. Currently the screen is a little bit too small, so it's hard sometimes select. And in this case, you probably want to zoom in and work that way. It will be a little bit easier. Okay. So we selected turbulence. Okay, let's increase scaling. We'll just pop up something more so it's a bit more. And you can see already we add to our noise origin. So now we have it kind of like twisting in our rock formation, and we can use this one in our some other example. If we're going inside terrain fractal, which allowed more natural look, and combining with a turbulence, we can have it very interesting effects, very twisting effects on this as well. You can preview right here. So, and again, you can go inside the turbulence and maybe even affect more this way. Okay, so let's delete this one. We'll go back to our simple fractal. Okay, so this is what origin for. Now, metascale. What it does? Okay, let me kind of showing you what metascale is. And for that case, let me exit and we'll just delete it. Okay, imagine this is one mountain. Okay, let's create several of them. This is how the system will create, for example, different mountains. Okay, here it will be our terrain that we're creating. Okay, when a system will generating. Okay, and let's just group them together. Okay, so what's happening now, we're creating terrain. It doesn't necessarily remember the height and lows will be same. They will stay in the range. But when algorithm was generating, he will generating against the one metascale, or you take this metascale and you actually reducing. So now your metascale will still be different. So what is happening when you go inside the terrain? It's actually, I need to create fractal terrain. Okay, we'll go to here. So what's happening now when you start working with the meta scale? It's imagine it doesn't mean it will increase change height and lows when you start render. They will be keeping the same, but overall look of this ridge of the mountains, it's your meta scale. There will be decrease or increase, and it's done so it can be terrain create in more realistic way. Example, if you're creating mountains far away, you want to have it look like a ridge of the mountains, you probably want to increase your meta scale. If you come closer, you probably want to decrease your meta scale. So by modifying these options, you can modify how closer or far away ridge of your will be. So it's will combining with your terrain positioning. In this case, you probably want to use your meta scale based on this. As well, other options what you can do, you can create object that call we have an external dependency, and we can set this dependency to the camera. Okay, position on the camera, and we can actually set the meta scale related to our camera. Of course, the because it's number and our give it output in a vector, we need to take, for example, it's a y. So we can go ahead and create decompressor. So we'll go vector operations and go to decompress 3. So we'll connect to our external dependency on a camera. And now from here, we take it our, okay, let me go ahead and select meta scale. Now we'll connect to ours, and let's ask where you want connected. And if we select far away, you want set Y, okay, or Z, it's a depth. Depend how you set in view. In my Z, it's depth, so we select to the depth. So in this case, my meta scale will relate it on this terrain to depend how far from camera is located. So if I increase and move it far away, my meta scale will be changing a little bit more accurate, depend how far away from the camera is located. Again, this is will require a few more tweaking, but this is very rough way I'll showing you how you can also manipulate with some of those settings like meta scale, so they present a little bit more accurate depend as where's your camera located. Okay, again, how to say, in this way we need a little bit more tweaking, readjusting, probably add mapping to this because our meta scale value is set. Okay, let me disconnect this one. Is our meta scale value can be manipulated from 1,000 whatever you wanted. And in this case, when we start working with the numbers that we don't have it control, we want to probably putting mapping node between them and map values so they represent a bit more properly without overloading input for our meta scale. Okay, next what we're going to do is look largest features. If you notice when we create mountain, we have the largest features, the peaks. As well, we have smaller features, that is small teeny tiny noise on our mountain. So, and this is what it actually does. It's creating how large you want your largest features. Okay. And as well, smaller feature, how small you want it. If you set to the 0, what's happening, it's creating this noise with the cavities and the bumps, and it's creating up to 1 pixel, the smallest one it can render for the view. In some cases, you maybe want to increase the smaller features. Mostly if you do on far away, it will increase decrease time of your rendering. One thing, keep it in mind, whatever you do, wherever we add any additional nodes, any additional functions here, all of this will affect time, how long it will take render, because instead of the standard terrain, fractal terrains will process before it start rendering, or if any modification was applied. So it will take a little bit longer time to actually render those terrains, and adding any more functionality or complexity will increase that time. Okay, so right here, smaller features. So remember, sometimes you maybe want to decrease, and you notice right here it's become look a little bit smoother, so it's have much less details, but we still have our largest features. Same way, if you want to create like a hills, maybe rolling hills or other things, you can decrease amount of the larger features and increase of smaller feature. In that case, you will have it less noise, more kind of weathering, more dissolved type looking on your terrain smoother. So in that case, it will process faster. Okay, again, if you have it like a lot of ecosystem or grass over, when you don't necessarily need to see the small features. Okay, let's go change our meta scale. We'll adjust our features. Okay, um, you can also link almost all of these nodes when you see this lighting icon. Okay, you can link them, those nodes, to turbulence, to any other external dependencies, or any other options if you want it. In some cases, if you want, you can stack one terrain on top another one and link smaller features to the sides, so your bottom terrain can have it more details and far away can have it less. It's all mathematical. So roughness, it is controlled roughness of the fractal overall. So what it does, it's happening, it's actually taking the fractal node and it's multiplying by the value you're putting in. So your parameter that you input will be magnifying by this. In some cases, you can think it's take a value, and if it's lower, it's actually decreasing by value you're putting here, or it's increasing. So it's another ways if you want to create smoother kind of more hills with less contrast. It's not truly contrast, but differently between highest and low points. You can modify this by using roughness. Okay, and if roughness work between kind of harsh, lowest, increasing, the gain, it's work overall amplifying or working amplitude of all fractal. So I don't know if it's, if you notice right here, we overall increasing amplitude, and instead, and when we do with the roughness, it's actually multiplying between all those highest and lowest points. So again, and gain will give it us overall amplitude on all fractal. Okay, one options we have it right here, it's called a stretch damping, and it's currently, if you notice, disabled. Okay, so let me just make its roughness a little bit higher so we can see. And again, by default 0.5, this is probably one of the best presets. Okay, so what's happening when you start changing wavelengths different, you will notice right here you start having the stretch lines going, and this reason is why, because we set wavelengths to standard, and except on a y we're kind of increasing. What stretch allowed us to do, it's kind of removing that artifacts of the lining, so it will help us to look a little bit more natural in a ways. But again, the stronger is more value you're putting in, the stronger effect will of removing apply it. So in some cases, I was using to create maybe some kind of sliding effect hills, or maybe if you want to create snow look and you want to create this kind of the wind erosion in one way, you probably won't work with this stretching not that much, just slightly maybe affecting. So you still have it some mark, but not that obvious. Okay, and overall, it's actually what it does. It's help to remove this artifact effect if you increasing wavelength in a specific directions. Okay, so let me kind of increase this one. What I want to do, bring a little bit up. I want to look on this options now. We have it here, filter options and second input. So the filter is give you a profile of the wavelength. Think about this not as a view from top. Think about this side view of the wavelengths when it does. So for example, lowers highest point and it's moving all away. Or if you want it, you can say I want to have it sharp edge like on the middle of the value. Okay, and it will affect okay, so let me go ahead. Okay, so I'll just be sure we said similar things. Okay, and right here kind of you can see instead going smoothly up, we change profile, so we have it going one altitude. Next, when increasing, we have it sharp up, and right here you can see it's where we specify how we want our profile to work. Okay, so it's kind of like slice on a sideways. As well, when we start modifying um, effects, if filter is modified from original, you have the options enable when it's a creep in, minimum, and maximum. Okay, the creep in it's let us mix signals between our filter and our original. So in that case, think about not truly blending, but in some cases it's help us kind of mix those signals, original ones from this all the way original to, okay, let me, you know what, let's load it something more visible. Okay, right here. And it's help us switch from original to whatever signal we selecting before. Okay. As well, minimum and maximum. It is a set range where the filter will apply it to. Okay, so the minimum maximum will help you also control how the creep will apply it in, so you can set more roughness, more details, or less details with this. Okay, and the last, the second output, detect rough areas. This will be appear if you reference feature size options is enabled, and this is just allowed you to control distribution of the materials according to the fractal settings. Okay, so let's next we'll go ahead and look on the actual terrain fractal, see what changes will be